How's how's things, man? I know we had you on last and
Yeah.
kind of pre-launch
Mhm.
of the book, and a lot's happened since then.
Mhm.
Would love
Yep,
to
absolutely. Well,
kind
the
of for
first
those
thing I
that
want to do, because
haven't
you
got it.
want, I just
Go
want
ahead.
to, I want to congratulate John Kitchens on winning an XP award, or I'm sorry, receiving an XP award from the Success Summit for his appearance on Times Square today, which will be coming up in a couple of weeks, and probably here in October. You'll be able to catch him on ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. So uh, got a good 10-minute session, did an amazing job. So he was given an award. Fortunately, he couldn't make it, but if you see him, give him a pat on the back for doing such a good job and delivering at such a high level.
And
I know you wouldn't do that. I
right
know you
alongside
wouldn't do
you,
that for yourself. So I
right
figured.
alongside you.
Oh, thank
So
you. You're very kind. You're very kind.
thank you. Right alongside you.
Appreciate you.
Very dapper in those
Oh,
pictures,
thank
by
you.
the way.
Hey, thank you very much. I was. It's nice to be able to wear a suit again. You know what I'm saying? And having lost enough weight to look human in a suit, so it was good. Thanks. Yeah, it's a good event. We missed you there for sure.
Yeah, I definitely would have loved to have made that trip. Always spending time with you and spending time with Nick.
Yeah.
So
Chris,
always good.
Chris Voss was amazing.
Yeah.
What
was his kind of his message?
Well, so he talked in the new movie that he did with Nick, the new documentary called what's it called? I don't remember the name of it, but I forget. It'll come back. But basically, Nick did a documentary about him and his life as a negotiator, first for the New York police and then for the FBI, a hostage negotiator, and then even doing it for the U.S. government overseas and stuff like that. So that was the story. And he came and talked, and he just told us a bunch of stories. But he talked about negotiation. I thought this was really interesting. He says, there is a traditional strategy of yes momentum, but he said if you can get if you can get a no in there and get them to say no to something that they don't want, he says you increase your conversion by like 23% negotiations. So something to the effect of, hey, listen, all the other real estate agents that you've been working with, they're okay at what they do, but the average real estate agent is going to probably cost you 3% to 4% of your equity. In your case, it's $20,000, and you really don't want to do that, do you? Oh no, I don't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Using that kind of a strategy. And so he says if you do a little Googling on it, I wish I had the link, I'd share it now, but if you do a little Googling on it, he does a whole thing. He has like a good 16-minute video on using no as a negotiation strategy. So pretty cool.
That's interesting. And I know, really getting back into more negotiation, especially from a real estate agent standpoint, is going to be, really a much needed skill set at a high level.
Yeah. 100%.
So we've gone through the certified negotiation expert training, and then that was pre Chris Voss kind of being able to deliver. And
tactical empathy, that was the name of the video.
Gotcha.
Right? Because let me close the loop on that, because it's interesting that he said that when they're negotiating with when they're negotiating with hostages and stuff like that, he says one of the things you have to do is you have to use empathy to your advantage. Like you're somebody obviously can hurt people, but you have to be a good negotiator, you have to empathize with people and put yourself in their shoes and kind of go through what they're going through, so you can understand them at a higher level and communicate at a higher level too. So pretty interesting stuff. So it's good.
So you can be able to connect with them.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and something to the effect of, hey, God, what started today? What's making today such a bad day for you? What made you feel like you come and do this sort of thing? How bad did things get that you had to do that?
Right.
So pretty cool.
Yeah. No. I think anything with Chris Voss, anything that you can kind of study, it is an important skill set to develop. It is one of the most critical skill sets to have, especially moving into kind of the market that we're seeing. And I know you study the market at a high level. Mm-hmm. For those real estate agents that are tuning in, listening to this, or even anybody that's kind of gets a bite out of the industry, mortgage, title, anybody that would listen to this conversation. Just knowing what been through many cycles of the real estate industry.
Is that a nice way of saying I'm old?
Yeah, that's my nice way of saying you're old. What should people be paying attention to and thinking about as we move into this last part of the year and into beginning of 23?
I know in like just taking into consideration, your whole strategy of, syntax of the right things happening in the right order, that there's a code, if you will, for everything, for success. There's a code to doing business with people in this kind of market. And, one of those things is, first and foremost, being an expert in everything regarding the market. So understanding what's happening with interest rates, understanding what's happening with home prices, understanding what's happening with time on market, understanding what's happening with rent. And really, like we taught people, during the Great Recession, really understand what's happening in your market at a high level so that you can then interpret and or extrapolate that data so that you can give people good advice. But then if we go to the very beginning of the correct code for selling houses, number one, don't work with somebody who's not really a good candidate. This is not like it was 2 years ago where, people were throwing spaghetti against the wall and whatever stuck. And, people, you buy a house, you're selling a house, we can overprice it because eventually we're going to catch up with it, or let's go put in offers of 15 houses because eventually one of those is going to work. I mean, those days are gone. I mean, it's an aberration. It was artificially manufactured just because of low inventory, I'm saying, and confluence of low interest rates at the time. But first thing foremost, make sure you're working with the right people, somebody who's looking to buy or sell within 90 days or less, somebody who has the financial wherewithal. Most everybody has enough equity, but can buyers get financing? Do they have cash? Is there a life event associated with it, right? Are they looking, is there a marriage, a birth, a death, a divorce? Is there something that's got a hard date associated with it? If they don't meet those three criteria, either on the buy or sell side, don't go work with them.
Right.
And so like, that's the thing. Like there's no arm twisting. There's no cajoling. There's like, what if, you have to really make sure that you're spending time with the right people. And I think for people who've been in the business since 2013 on, most everybody's, been the right person, because if they could find a deal, they buy or sell. That's not the case. You've got to be really hard on who you're going to meet with, Yeah. The second thing is, you got to start going 4 or 5 questions deep on every phone call to make sure this is the kind of person you're going to want to work with, and to get clear on what their goals are. Peel back the layer of that onion. Timing and motivation trump everything else.
Right. Qualified and ready.
Yeah, 100%. And I would say the third thing then is, if somebody gives you an objection and says something, you ask enough questions, and it's interesting. I do study the market. I also study sales trends. 44% of salespeople bail on a sales call after the first sign of resistance. 44%, literally, like as soon as somebody says I'm not interested or I want to wait or whatever, they're done. I mean that and here's the other thing: 4 no's get you the business 66% of the time. Average number of times to get in contact with somebody to do business minimum is 6 to 8%. Most real estate agents are at like 2 to 3 contact attempts. So, you've got to do more than you did before to get there, and that requires asking questions. And here's the thing: the same thing that you would say to a buyer, you would say to seller, but for different reasons, right? Seller wants to wait. What are you waiting for? Well, we're waiting for the market to get better. We're waiting for interest rates to go down. Buyers are going to say the same thing. And, if you're studying the market, basically what you're going to say to a seller is, hey, listen, 40 to 50% of the homes in just about every market across the country have already had a significant number of price reductions. Home prices have settled. If you go look in the last month, we took our hit through June and July. August, things settled. I mean, prices have settled. They're not really going down anymore, right? So for a seller's perspective, it's still a good time to sell, because, the average seller, saw the 32% increase in the value of their home from February of 2020 to June of 2022. Even though we'll probably settle 10%, that still means people are going to be up with the amount of value in their home. And the same thing for buyers. Home prices are not settling, right? So the biggest risk for both of them is that interest rates are going to probably continue to go up and erode buying power and selling power, right? Yeah. We have no idea what's coming down the pike, but the Fed said they're going to continue to raise short-term interest rates until, inflation gets in check. That makes sense. And so that doesn't mean a one-to-one correlation with mortgage rates going up, but they're probably going to go up too. So, there's no reason to wait. So if somebody's looking to buy and stay for, 4 to 5 years or longer, and if somebody's looking to sell, those are the things that you want to take into consideration. So, it's kind of like an oversimplified version of what you would talk with about people, but, interest rates are people's biggest risk. Home prices aren't going to change dramatically anytime soon. And, waiting really doesn't benefit anybody at the moment.
Yeah. And, we, built 2 incredible programs around, working with those 2 specific type of, clientele with sellers and with buyers. And, it's really getting back to telling them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And,
Mhm.
if your goal is only to be here in a location for a couple of years, it might be best to find a place to rent instead of buy. And that's really hard for a lot of agents because, most agents are chasing that next commission check and they absolutely need that deal. And so it's hard, but you have to do the right thing.
Mhm.
And, really just get into that educational and asking a lot of questions and really, because if you can uncover if somebody's qualified, like what does qualified mean in today's market? And that's why you got to know what that means, but then also ready. And I think one of the things, I think you helped us set this up is that we would grade all of our opportunities on an AA scale, right? So, if there were an ABC based upon qualification, ABC based upon motivation, timing, and that really helps you narrow in your focus of who you need to be spending time and energy on. Because we know this, most real estate agents spend too much time working with people that will never even do anything in the first place. And so you can reallocate that time and energy back to the people that are really close to doing something because they are truly qualified and they truly are ready.